Hey guys, I'm Sam Kreck. Today we're going to take a quick break from the pizza car behind me. We're going to take a trip down to Drivetrains, plus it's owned by my friend James, and his primary focus is buying V8 American muscle cars where he breaks them down and resells the parts. He recently picked up a 2017 Mustang GT from Copart with only a couple thousand miles on it. You guys are not going to believe this car when you see it. It really tells a story. Now, enough of me talking. Let's check in when we get to James's shop. So we're going to start here with these body parts. These are off a 2017, right, James? All right, 2017 Mustang GT that, I don't know if you guys can see it in the distance, but it's over there. We're going to go check it out now. This was a car that James over here, he's NeverStopPulling on YouTube. We'll put that in the description box. This Mustang was owned by a Mustang owner, I guess we'll call him, and
typical Mustang owner, they say on YouTube.
Typical Mustang owner. And this is just the front end. And so let's go inside and check out. You got to see exactly the condition of this car and what's going on with it. So this car looks perfect from the rear, but when we come around the side, you'll start to see what's going on with it. So this is a 2017 Mustang GT. James, how many miles on this car?
2,000.
2,000 miles on this car, and it was involved in a really nasty front end collision. Now, we're gonna take you around and show you just the damage in the front end. There's a bunch of airbags pop. We'll lower the car, and you'll see that as well. But this thing is an example of something somebody might email me about. Hey, Sam, what do you think about this car? And you really not understanding what you might be getting into. People think they could buy this because you can get them relatively inexpensive, but this car is not to be rebuilt, at least in my opinion, I think as well in James's opinion. And this car is being used for parts. James is going to part it out and sell all the major components and all the little components until it's a shell that he ends up scrapping, I think, right? Yeah. And then that's it. And I do personally believe that that is a better option. You know, a lot of people write me wanting to rebuild newer cars like this 2017 Mustang, and I'm just not a big fan of rebuilding cars this damaged. Now, let me show you exactly how damaged this car is. So this is James's car. He bought it from Copart. He's seen where all the major damage is. Obviously, we can see these two front frame rails right here. I mean, this is just trashed. Right here, it's cut off. Did it come like that, James? Cut off, or did you cut it?
Yeah, we cut it off.
They cut it, yeah. So this was, I'm guessing, severely bent, and it was in the way, so you cut it.
Yeah.
So James is going to take us around and show us some more frame components, some motor components as far as mounts and things, and suspension-wise that's broken. Go ahead, James. Show me what we got here.
Oh, got it everywhere. I mean, you can see up here, those wells have just come apart. You want to get down here? Completely buckled.
Yeah, now this is nasty. Let's take a look at this for 1 second. All right, this is the frame rail, and you hear me talk about frame rails a lot. This is buckled right here. So not only is it buckled back here, up here where they cut it off because it was probably all twisted up and in the way. When you see something this bent, and it was bent enough for them to cut it just so they could remove the parts, it can easily travel down the back where the rail connects to the unibody and, again, buckle. This is a major issue, and this is a rail that absolutely has to be replaced if you were rebuilding a car. Why? One of the main reasons why this car is definitely not being rebuilt, but that's just one rail. Let's keep going. There's more stuff, right?
Just gotta look around. There's pretty much stuff everywhere.
Yeah, so let's see this rail here. It's just, this one's actually not too severely bent. Obviously, the mounting bracket is completely trashed.
Yeah.
This is still really pretty bad, and you can see it's moved over a little bit, it looks like, but not as bad as the other one.
The front was all good.
Mm-hmm.
The coolant tank survived somehow.
Okay. Yeah, we see that.
We do think we messed up this clutch, so that's the only problem on the car, is we need to replace this clutch and put a new belt. Actual, like, drivetrain parts, that's all that was damaged.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we talked about earlier, the belt that goes on this right here on the Mustang is a one-time use. In order to pull it off the car, you actually have to well, they recommend you cut it. I've heard of people pulling them off and reusing them, but they stretch a little bit when you put it on. So James showed me this earlier. This is the driver's side motor mount, and look how it just completely cracked. Like we've been dealing on the Domino's car with the motor mount, and I've told you a lot of these cars, I see a front end collision, the motor mounts just break. And according to you guys at home, that's because they don't want the motor going into your lap in an accident, so they just have it fall down, and they're meant to break. So I'm guessing that's one of the reasons.
Yeah. But anybody that's buying cars like this, one of the main things they need to look for is to make sure that mount didn't go into the engine block.
Yeah.
Because if that would have happened, or even this mount going into the trans, that would have completely put me upside down.
Sure.
In this.
And you know what's funny is sometimes on Copart's website, you'll see a car for sale, and it has a fluid all on the ground next to it, which is really interesting. It makes it that far after the accident has it. Yeah. But anything that's been, see, if you look on the underside of this car, it's clean. It's really nice and clean. There's no oil or anything like that. Yeah. That's a great sign, because they usually, unless it's a dealership or something and it's not an insurance company, they usually don't clean the cars. And you'll see just filthy oil, coolant, tranny fluid, anything like that. That's a really good point, yeah. So here we go with another broken mount. This is the transmission mount right here. Look at that crack. And I mean, yeah, like James was just saying, it's completely moved, and luckily it's still kind of got everything, I guess, in place to the point where the transmission itself didn't get damaged, but yeah, it's another nasty buckle right there. Look at how long this car is, okay? We're all the way back here. That transmission mount all the way back there, I don't know, what is that, 4 feet back? Yeah, right. Just because of the impact, it broke. So here's the front of the car, and the transmission mount all the way back there. This is one of the best parts of the car here, the wheels and tires, and they actually look to be in fairly decent shape. But James, how many miles was on this car?
2,168.
So 2,000 miles, we'll call it. These are completely bald. Look at them. And look, you can see the steel belt through this. Oh my God. And well, we were going to guess that these are the rears, right? But take a look at the other two. This is not a staggered set of wheels, I don't think, right? Yeah. No. So the other two are bald as well. So in 2,000 miles, what do we call this guy? This guy's a typical Savage Mustang owner. I'm kidding, because James owns a Mustang. I've had a few Mustangs. After driving James's Mustang, I'm going to have to get another one. Look at this. This is insane. And James pointed this out too. There's even tire rubber wrapped around here, the rear axle shaft. This guy really liked that line lock mode on this car, obviously.
Yeah, it worked.
So we look at the interior in this car, we can see the curtain airbag on the passenger side deployed. We go in and we see the driver's steering wheel bag, and if you look down there, the passenger's knee bag went off. And the windshield, James and I think everybody looking at this here, we'll get it from the outside, we're all puzzled how this occurred. It doesn't look like the guy flew forward, because that would be more on the driver's side, and it's right where the mirror is. So my guess, and you guys can comment down below and guess as well, I believe that someone just ripped it from the inside and pulled it inward. That's my guess, but nobody really knows. Otherwise, this is a 2,000 mile car. It looks pretty much brand new on the inside. There's a ton of great parts, and that's the big thing about this car. This car has, I mean, look at the rear end, is brand new. The suspension in the back is brand new. Even the suspension, the brakes on the front, and these are 4-piston brakes, so these are all parts that will cost a good amount of money. Secondhand online or wherever James is going to market them at, and that is where you can really break a car down and make a good amount of money, especially once you remove and sell the engine and transmission. This is a Coyote motor with 2,000 miles. So James, what do you anticipate the Coyote motor selling for here?
The engine, if I were selling it by itself, I would probably want around 7,000.
Okay.
But as a complete kit that'll start up from the pallet, I'm looking for around 10.
10. See,
that's with the transmission, start up, all that.
And so I'm not going to ask James how much he paid for this car, but I can tell you that that's probably close to what he paid for it. And so from right there, the engine and transmission, that's where you make your money back, kind of like on the Chevy Spark. I know that an engine sells between $600 and $700 basically, dependent on how many miles are on it. And then I still have an entire car. So I mean, look, we got steering wheel, we've got a dashboard that's complete because the dashboard airbag didn't go off. We've got a seatbelt. That seatbelt over there on the passenger side works. This driver's side seatbelt is also not locked up. So these seatbelts are probably a couple $100. Brand new seats, brand new rear seats, shifter. Like I said, everything in the interior, door panels, doors. These doors are probably very expensive. This one does have a ding in it, but body shops can take care of this in no time. So this car has a ton of usable parts, and that's really what I want to focus on here is all the great usable parts. Even though the frame's super mangled on it, you've got a car that could turn you a decent profit if you just part it out. Another reason we're out here today is this. This doesn't look like anything from the rear, but this is actually a C6 Corvette. It's an 06, another Copart purchase from James, and it's really actually in great shape. The whole frame of it is in really good shape. Pretty much everything is straight. And obviously I'm rebuilding a C6, and James has some parts for me I'm about to buy from him. A subframe and an airbag, maybe a few other things. I'm going to go and kind of rummage through his parts that he has. But this is just another great example of a totaled car. This one had right around, what, 70, 80,000 miles on it? Yeah. 70, 80,000 miles. These parts are in high demand, these C6 Corvette parts, and they also go for a decent amount of money. But this is an 06, so being over 10 years old and of course being damaged, you can pick them up for a really decent amount of money and then, you know, strip the parts down and resell them like James here is doing. So let me show you around this one, and then we'll go and take a look at a few of the parts, and specifically the parts I'm going to buy from James. So I really want to thank James here. He's the owner of Drivetrains Plus. He's also on YouTube as NeverStopPulling. You can check out not only Drivetrains Plus, link in the description box below, but also the link to his YouTube channel. And he's got that amazing 1,000 horsepower Mustang we drove today. He just offered me the opportunity to drive this right here. You guys know exactly what this is. And James, this car only has what, 400 or 500 horsepower?
Yeah, between 4 and 5 to the wheels.
So 400 and 500 to the wheels. That Mustang has double the amount of horsepower, and James told me what?
By far my favorite car.
So I can't wait to come back and drive this Supra. I hope you guys look forward to that as well. James, thanks again very much for the parts.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me drive the awesome car. We'll be back soon, guys. If you have any questions about anything you've seen in this video or any questions at all, be sure to contact me using the information in the description box below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will catch you very soon.